Hey guys, I'm James Perkins from Thrasher Funds, and I'm trying to make some power moves.
Hi, this is Gregory Fleury. Welcome to BU Television, and I'm here today with Mr. James C. Perkins, CEO, Portfolio Manager, Thrasher Funds, and founder?
And founder.
And founder, Thrasher Funds. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're here today, and we want to start us off, and I want you to speak about the different dynamics of financial managing for our viewers out there.
Sure. There are a lot of different areas that people can make themselves familiar with. There's the brokerage account where you can buy and trade stocks on your own. And then there's the mutual fund industry, which we deal with quite a bit with our Gendex fund, where you can get easier access to professional investment management, easier access to diversification. And we try to make that even more available through low investment minimums and making investments more relevant to a new, younger generation. And then there's also the hedge funds that I'm sure people have heard a lot of people talk about, where your investment minimums are generally around $1 million. You have to be an accredited investor and be able to lose $1 million per se and not have it affect your lifespan. But there are different levels in which you can get involved in the investment game. There are different tiers of risk that you can take on. And all of it kind of deals with your risk-reward paradigm as an investor that you want to take, and also what makes sense for where you are in your time in life as far as your financial trajectory is concerned.
So what age do you think, or when do you think is the best time that parents should sit their children down and discuss financial matters with their children?
Yeah, some of the people that, as a professional that I've been most impressed with during my time in the investment world have started quite early. You'd be surprised if their parents kind of sat them down, if it's even with a piggy bank, or got them started on an allowance really early. If their grandparents kind of left a stock certificate behind for them. There's these really, I wouldn't even really call them weird, but these anecdotal experiences that I've heard from people that said, this really piqued my interest in investing in stocks, and the fact that my parents or grandparents were even aware enough to even mention this to me, I think is a great deal of importance. We've had, young people come into our offices on many occasions dressed head to toe in Marc Jacobs or Louis Vuitton, and were inspired to invest, but didn't have a checking account just because they had a parent's credit card or cash from an allowance. And so one thing is just to really become aware of the dealings of money and how it can affect you in the different areas in your life where you need to be able to manage it. Mm-hmm. And again, that's before you even get to investing, checking accounts, credit cards, and that type of thing.
Well, I did some research before I sat down with you today, and
oh, no.
I got a real interesting number I want to throw at you.
Sure.
In 2007, African American spending power was over $845 billion.
Yep.
Some say that by the year 2012, that can go up to 1.1 trillion.
Yes.
So how do we get African Americans and minorities going from the mentality of spending to investing?
Well, one of the biggest things that I think is important as a starting point, for instance, we were doing a lecture at a city college here in New York not recently, and we were doing a giveaway. And so I started off with a hard question. I said, if you get this question right, you get one of these free Thrasher bags. He is the Oracle of Omaha. And everyone in the room was silent. And then if you say, Jay-Z said he's the black X him, then everyone goes, Warren Buffett, right? So what we're trying to do is use experiences that people come across in their everyday lifestyle. You're buying Air Force Ones, that's hitting Nike's bottom line on their EPS earnings call. You're buying Louis Vuitton for your girl. Think about a great diversified company in, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. So there are so many ways in which we come across publicly traded companies on a day-to-day basis, where we are participating, we call it the walking portfolio, in the stock market on a day-to-day basis, where we can use those pedagogical hooks to get people to understand that they're participating whether or not they know it, but there's a way that they can actively participate and not stop being chic, but be responsibly chic.
Right. So can you just speak about the misconceptions about investing? Why do you think many minorities in particular, once they hear the word mutual fund or stock, they start to get all rattled? Can you speak a little bit about that?
Well, some of it, I think, has been a situation of generational experience. When you talk about, again, I go back to parents or grandparents bequeathing grandchildren with CDs or stock certificates, the littlest thing can get a person started on the right direction. The other thing is kind of the shoebox mentality, where people kind of get money, maybe they got to a place where they didn't have it before, and so now they got the good job and they're getting the good checks, and so they want to make sure that that doesn't go away. And a lot of people have the misconception that they can save themselves into some form of wealth, or they can save themselves into retirement, and that's just not true. The actuality is that a great deal, over 60-70% of what you're going to need for retirement is going to have to come from invested income. That's why if you're an employee at GM or Chrysler, they are going to take your pension money and invest it with a manager who can grow that so that by the time you retire, they have enough money to give to you. Because if they just save the money you gave them to set aside, even with their matching, it wouldn't be enough. So we have to get over that mentality that, let me just kind of really hold on to what I have now, and there's no return because they're not taking any risk.
So let's kick out one of these misconceptions now. What is a stock?
What is a stock? Stock, in its basic form, is a partial ownership in a company. And, Warren Buffett says so many things that are so simple, and it's kind of like people want them to be more complicated than what they really are. But I'm one of the believers that when you are buying a company or you're buying a stock, that you should think about it as though you're buying a piece of a company that you would want to be an investor in. If you love Nike shoes and you found out that they bought Converse, and so your Chucks are Nike, and Cole Haan, so your loafers are Nike, I would like to own part of that business because I think that has a great long-term viability. When you buy a stock, which is a pro rata share, a very small piece of ownership in that company, it entitles you to voting rights. It entitles you to dividends that the company may pay out in cash. And so that's the first way in which you can become a part of the investing landscape and participate in what some people think isn't for them. I have to wait till I have X amount of dollars to invest, and I have to wait till I hit X amount in a social class system before I can own stocks. And that's not the case. That's what the stock market is for. And people like Charles Schwab kind of made that more available to the everyday person and by reducing the cost. It no longer costs a couple $100s just to call and trade a couple stocks. Now you have the online brokerages, and then you also have the mutual fund industry as well.